Tennessee Wildcast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. I'm Jason Harmon. I'm your host, and got Mr. Barry Cross in here with me today. He's helping co-host. And Mr. James Kelly, our deer biologist here at Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. How are y'all doing?
Welcome in. This is going to be a good show.
I'm excited. It's deer season's in full swing. I think I titled this "Deer, Deer, and More Deer."
Deer, and
so
more
nice.
Deer.
That's what we're talking about
What
today.
everybody's talking about right now, isn't it?
A lot of people have been in the woods. Muzzleloader season's in full swing, and this Saturday is gun season.
I got to tell you, if gun season goes the way that everything else has this year so far, we're going to see some really good deer taken. Now, every deer is a trophy. I've killed my share of trophies that are not on the wall.
Right.
But there have been some really incredible bucks taken this year, and deer hunting in Tennessee, to me, is probably better than it has ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And even our juveniles were bringing in some really trophy animals, so it's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, you're out in the field. I'm gonna kill that music. It's glitching on us. You're out in the field more than I am a lot of times. So you interact with those youngsters at those young sportsman hunts, and you always got a camera in hand. I'm sure you've tried to catch some deer on camera this year.
Well, I didn't get as many of those on camera this year as I'd wanted, but just to see these kids come in with, it doesn't have to be a 10-point. It can be a 6-point or a spike for a kid, and they are excited. But there were kids coming in with 8, 9, 11-point deer. So for a kid to be able to harvest an animal, you're talking about a mature buck that is not going to just walk out in the field and stand broadside for you. So deer hunting is really getting good in Tennessee, and since then muzzleloader opened, and we're seeing lots of good deer being checked in. It's quite a thing to watch.
Well, speaking of good deer being checked in, I'm going to show some pictures. Some folks have been sending us stuff on Instagram and sharing them with us through that. And then Barry sent me one that he got the other day. But this is Miss Taylor Wall from Montgomery County. She got a nice 11-point back on November the 8th. So she was pretty pumped about that. She shared it with us. We posted it on Instagram. If you hadn't been on our Instagram channel, go check it out. And this is Tristan Scott from Henderson County. That's his first muzzleloader kill, so that's pretty cool. Nice little 8-point. And let's see, got a couple more here. Ryan, this is at Ryan Doyle. That's his Instagram handle. Roane County, 10-point.
Wow,
Very nice.
And they say they don't grow them up in East Tennessee.
Yeah. I'm starting to see more and more deer come out of that area there around Meigs and Roane, and some of those. There's some big deer in there. They're just hiding. They know how to hide. And this one was harvested back toward earlier in the season, back in September in Sumner County. A little 10-point. Say little 10-point, big 10-point. That's a nice one there. And he shared that with us actually this past week. He said, I didn't know I could send it to you and show it, share it with you. So he sent it in, and it's pretty cool to see. And then this bad boy here, you sent 16 points. Tell us about this deer. Do you know much about it?
I don't know much about it. The manager down at Laurel Hill, Pam McDonald, sent that picture in, and that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, look at that mass.
I know. I don't know that I could have shot it. Let it go another year. No, I'd actually fell out of the stand.
Wait. We're about to show one of your deer, so we know what you like to shoot. These little scrawny guys.
Yeah, I don't like them big ones.
So that was pretty cool, and his name is William Singleton of Millersville. That's Sumner County. That's in Sumner County, right? Yeah. So that was back on November 3rd, 16-point. And then here's Mr. Barry Cross.
Yeah.
He got lucky.
I got lucky every now and again.
You've harvested 2 bucks, so you're out.
Yeah, I'm
no
done.
more bucks, right?
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but I actually went out after work. I probably sat in the stand for 40 minutes for that deer, and luckily I had my wife with me, and she said she heard something coming, so I stuck my head out of the blind, and there he was. So, and I'm still going to hunt. You can harvest your does, and I've got kids. I want to take my kids out. let them hunt or just be out there with them. They hunt on their own mostly now. One other thing, just talking about women, I just got through going down to the Becoming an Outdoor Woman muzzleloader hunt this past weekend. And let me tell you, women who think, I can't do this or I'm limited for some reason, I could show you 30 women who were empowered by going out and hunting. They enjoyed the hunt. I hunted one morning with a 74-year-old Miss Barbara Hammonds, and 74 years old. She started hunting last year, and she said, for 30 years I didn't go hunting. My husband tried to get me to go hunting, and I never did it. She started getting into it with her grandkids. She had a grandchild, her last grandchild, that was going through it. So she took hunter safety with him and took him on his hunt and decided it was for her. She was going to try it. Last year didn't kill anything. This year she struggled. She had a couple of things with a couple of different bucks that came in and didn't get one, but she did harvest a doe that evening, and she was just tickled.
Had a good time.
Yeah. And so, it's not, you're not restricted by age. You're not restricted by, male or female. You can still enjoy it, and it's really a lot about getting out there and just being in the outdoors. But, just watching somebody enjoy it for the first time is incredible.
Yeah. James, I don't have a picture of any deer you've killed this year.
I was going to ask you the same thing.
I have been in the woods one time, with me and my son, and had a little 8-point come in on us, and I passed up on him, and then I decided, well, maybe I'll take him, and then he went the wrong direction, got behind some stuff. I couldn't take a shot. So but it's cool to see some deer and be out there.
I've had a couple missed opportunities myself. I was full draw on a pretty good one and just needed him to stop, and I did, meh. That's what you have to do.
That's what I say on TV anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't stop. He bounded off. He bolted.
Yeah.
So he was about 30 yards away before he stopped again, and by that time he was too far. But maybe I was too loud with it. I don't know. Just startled him. Yeah. He was pretty close. He was really close.
You're supposed to go, meh.
You're a little too loud.
Yeah.
So this Saturday, the November 17th, is the opening of gun season. So everybody can put their muzzleloaders up if they want to and grab a gun and head on out there on Saturday. Weather's looking,
or you can hunt with the bow or the muzzleloader.
You can.
It's open to all of them.
Yeah,
so.
just make sure you got the right licenses that match up with the equipment that you're using.
Yep.
And remember, if you're hunting, if you're going to try to kill a doe during this time of year, you got to have that top 94 to harvest on.
Yes, you do.
To harvest the doe.
Yeah, everywhere.
Unless you're a landowner or a sportsman's license holder or a lifetime license holder, those are exempt. But if you're going to kill a doe during this time of year, get you a top 94. And real quick, the weather. I pulled it up today, and it's looking pretty good. Through the rest of the week, it's going to be a little rainy, but on Saturday, it's supposed to be like 33, 34 degrees there. So it should be a good Saturday morning.
Real crisp morning, it sounds like.
Yeah, so frost
Deer
on the
should be
ground,
moving.
and deer moving, hopefully. So anyway, and then the rest of the week looks pretty good up until Thursday. It's going to maybe rain a little bit. So just get out there if you can. Enjoy it. Have fun. Would you say the rut's on right now?
You're starting to see it, some chasing in different areas. It's not consistent all across Middle Tennessee or the state for that matter, but you're starting to see the beginning of chasing, which is usually a lot of smaller bucks, dogging does running through the woods. And if you're patient, if you see that and you're patient, the big boy might be right behind that. So, it's starting to happen, and we'll probably be seeing a lot more of it over the next 3 weeks, you think?
Yeah.
It'll peak.
And I'll give you some, biologist's answer, and that's kind of one of the things we're not real sure of in Tennessee right now, and other states around us recently in the Southeast have taken a real comprehensive look at that and found that there are kind of distinct regions that have difference even within a state. States like Alabama, Florida, Mississippi have found that there's a few different zones where there's just kind of differences in peak rutting. We've looked into it a little bit in Tennessee, but we haven't done that comprehensive statewide thing. That's something that's coming sooner rather than later for Tennessee.
And I could see what you're saying, because I mean, it was last Friday, I think it was. I seen 2 different bucks running. I was just driving down the road, and I seen one chasing a doe, trying to corner her and not let her cross the road. Well, he did, or she did, and then he couldn't get across the fence, got caught up and fell back a couple times. And then on up the road a little bit further, I seen another one just standing there with some does, and then once he saw me, he stopped, tried to take a picture of me, ran off. But
yeah,
so I've seen some of that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe in zones or different areas. So.
Yeah, and I think it was 2012, so it predates me here at TWA, but some of our biologists in Region 2 in southern Middle Tennessee did a bunch of sampling of fetuses, and from the fetus you can backdate to when conception was, and they found it was pretty variable, and in some counties right along the Alabama line there, that peak breeding was in late December, early January. So for some of the areas, it might be a little bit, might be a little while yet.
Okay. Well, just real quick, we mentioned the season starts this Saturday to 17th of November, runs through January 6th, and then that special Unidale antlerless hunt opens back up for a week or so. But Top 94 is not the only license you need. We mentioned that. That's if you want to harvest a doe. Make sure you check your guide and get your proper, hunting and fishing license there to cover you for the hunt. So let's move on and talk about.
Hey, we're going to be out in force this weekend too. The agency is
okay.
There's been all that talk about chronic wasting disease, and I'm sure people get tired of hearing about it year after year. But we're talking about it because it's important, and we don't want it in Tennessee. And we've been doing testing over the last 2 years. And James, this year you've done something different with the testing. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So like you said, the past couple of years we've really got the volume of samples up there. We've gone from about 200 samples a year to the past 2 years, we've got up to about 2,000 samples a year. But last season, we started kind of in the background, started a project with some folks at Cornell University. There's a disease ecologist there. We partnered with her to help us assess the risk for chronic wasting disease in Tennessee and assess it specifically for each county, what the relative risk for chronic wasting disease was. And we looked at things like we went out and talked to all of our taxidermists and processors. How much volume do they do? How much volume had they done from out-of-state carcasses? Because for the past several years that was still legal. So we just asked them where they had carcasses coming in from. We took a look at whether the counties bordered a positive state or not, so that would contribute to a county's relative amount of risk. And we did they call it expert elicitation, basically interviewing our biologists and field staff about where they feel the biggest risk is for introducing chronic wasting disease. Oh, that was the other thing, high fences in the state. If a county has high fence facilities, that would elevate that county's risk level. And so we did this risk assessment, and basically we came up with a risk-based chronic wasting disease surveillance plan. And so whereas previously we just had regional quotas, now we have county-specific point totals. And so it's not number of deer, but it's point totals, and each different types of deer have different
Point
or
values.
worth. Yeah, exactly. So like
so in our previous version, it was like we got the quota, so we're good, but we may not have had 2 or 3 deer from one particular county, I guess.
yeah. So now we want to keep the volume up, but now we want to spread it around so that we're looking in all the right places. We're looking more, but now we want to look also in the right places. And Jason, I had a couple maps if you want to pull up.
Sure. Yeah. Here's the first one you sent me.
Yeah, so this is the surveillance plan for this year. kind of a heat map. The darker colors, red, are areas that have more risk for chronic wasting disease.
These numbers are not the total number of deer; it's the number of points, right?
Yeah. So
not the number of points on the antlers, but the
points
the
that
value.
Our biologists have to get. And this isn't
Right.
important for hunters to know. This is just to let you know what we're doing and on what our biologists are working on out in each region. And so, like an older age class buck is worth 3 points, whereas a younger age class doe is worth 1 point.
Okay.
Or a fawn is worth 0 points because they're not likely to find it. So basically, the idea here is we want to find it. We want to maximize the probability of finding it should it exist in Tennessee.
Right.
It's never been detected in Tennessee, but should it get introduced, we want to find it right away.
And before we go any further, let's reiterate that we do not have chronic wasting disease in Tennessee that we know of. And for folks just joining us or who are not familiar with this disease, real quick, explain what CWD is before we move further.
Yeah, that's a good thing to clarify before we move on. Yeah, so CWD, chronic wasting disease. It's called a group of diseases called a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy.
All right.
That's
Say that.
what he said.
All right,
Yeah.
Barry, you go. You
Not
try
my
it.
turn. I'm not doing that one.
Or TSE. Basically, it's the same group of diseases like mad cow disease in bovine, scrapie in sheep. Basically, it's not a bacteria. It's not a virus. The causative agent is an infectious prion. A prion is a misfolded protein.
Okay.
And
And that's hard for people to wrap their heads around because I get asked all the time, why don't you just come up with something to kill it? But
you really can't.
it's not alive, is it?
You can't kill it. It's not alive. It's whether it's still viable or not, and basically the infection's prions persist in the environment indefinitely. So, once it's out there, as far as we know, it's out there for good.
Survive in the soil or
Yeah,
things like
and that's
that.
why early detection is so important. So if it's out there, we want to contain it right where it's at, and also, and obviously, ideally, we want to keep it out, and that's why we're doing so
Right.
many preventative
Right.
things. But if it does enter the state, we want to find it right away and contain that area.
Along those lines, we want to keep it out. We want to mention that we do have chronic wasting disease restrictions in place, and that's not for just states that have chronic wasting disease. That's for any state.
Right.
So if you go outside Tennessee's borders and you harvest a deer, do not bring it back into the state to a taxidermist or to a processor
Right.
without going to our chronic wasting disease page in our guide or on our
Which is
website.
Page 30. We've mentioned it multiple times on the show. Page 30 is the restrictions for what you can and can't bring back, and follow that.
Just follow that. I mean, it's a simple thing, but it could mean a lot down the road because once, like James said, once we get it, there's no going back. We're going to have to live with it. So, if we can keep it out, that's our best case going forward. Is just not having it.
So this map shows the greatest risk.
Yeah, and where we're going to be sampling this year, and Jason, I have another map that's just kind of cool to show when you take this year's surveillance points and apply it to last year's data. This kind of shows where we oversampled last year. According to this plan, Roane County, according to this plan, we've oversampled, and we need to add more in like Fayette, Hardeman, McNairy, and Hardin counties. Those show kind of where we are going to sample more than we ever have previously,
Right.
and which is a good thing because of the positives that they've been finding in Mississippi. And Mississippi found one, a positive about 40 miles from our border, and
Yeah, it's
we have
not
another
far.
map showing that. I don't know if
Sure, we can move on to that one too.
okay.
But that positive was in the third positive was found fairly recently, right?
It was, but that was in the original county. I don't know how to pronounce it. It starts with an I, Saquona County or something
got me.
down near Louisiana.
Okay.
They haven't found another positive in the Pontotoc County area, but this map shows the point where they sampled that positive deer. It was a 1.5-year-old male, and that pink line there shows our 25-mile buffer from our state line, and that's 25 miles is the trigger for our response plan.
Right. And we'll hit on that in a few minutes. A little
Yeah, but we kind of, because of this surveillance plan, and Mississippi was positive when we did our risk assessment last year. We're already going to do much more intensive sampling in those southwest counties this year than we ever have previously.
That was going to be one of my questions. Like, if you're in Hardeman, Fayette, McNary, Hardin, Wayne, all those right there, do you sample harder, and do you encourage the hunters and the sportsmen there to help out, or what can be done right there? Anything?
Well, yeah, we're going to be our biologists are going to be sampling hunter harvested deer in those counties, like I said, more than we ever have before, and our biologists are currently kind of strategizing, assessing where we are after muzzleloader. They got a bunch of samples after muzzleloader, and they're going to be kind of moving around at different processors. And so I talked to the Region 1 biologist just before coming on, and he said to monitor our agency social media, and they'll kind of let hunters know where they're going to be if they want to get there.
Okay, cool.
If they harvest a deer in that region, if they want to bring it in, find us where we're going to be on opening day. We can pull a sample, and it'll help us get our county point quotas.
Mainly setting on processors or just random where you check your deer in, check stations? Or
Yeah, almost exclusively. We're working with at processors. We'll set up. It might be a processor that's also a check station, or it might just be a processor that gets a lot of deer,
Gotcha.
and we'll grab some. We'll get in biological data too, age and sex, because we want to know the age and sex of the harvest. But if it's a deer from a county where we still need points, we're going to go ahead and pull lymph nodes and have those tested for chronic wasting disease.
That made me think of another question. If y'all are taking these samples, is it going to affect the trophy if they want to have the deer mounted? Or
Yes. So if they bring a mature buck in and they're wanting to get mounted, we don't pull the samples off of those. We just wait. We just get our samples a different way. But we are working with taxidermists, select taxidermists as well, especially in those underrepresented counties where we need to increase our sampling. We're partnering with taxidermists to pull samples for us.
Cool. That's
and
good.
We have like a little incentive program for those taxidermists to help us out to get those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That way we can get them off of older age class bucks,
Mhm.
which typically they're at a higher risk.
Yeah. They have a higher incidence of chronic wasting disease in mature bucks versus younger bucks or versus females.
So I would encourage the folks Southwest Tennessee to search out for those processors, find those places that were set up. If you harvest a deer Saturday, or are these stations just set up on Saturday and Sunday, or?
It'll probably be Saturday, and again, we'll assess where we are with our point quotas. Having a program for hunters is something we're exploring right now. If hunters are curious and just want to get their deer tested, but because we've not detected it, we don't have any reason to believe that deer have. They shouldn't be concerned at this point,
Right.
But we understand that some hunters just want to be safe. So that's something we're discussing internally. How do we handle that logistically, systematically? And so stay tuned on that.
Okay, cool.
And two, if somebody's not going to have that deer mounted, maybe you're going to do a European mount, and you got a nice deer you think maybe 3.5 or better, just come by and let us take a sample. That helps us get that quota for that county. And it's going to take all of us once to prevent, and once we ever get this disease, it's going to take everybody to work on this together. So
Educate each other and
yeah.
all that stuff. So what if, real quick, if we can hit on that, what if we find it? What's Tennessee, what's the TWRA and all the other folks that have to deal with this, the other partners like Ag, and what are we going to do? What's kind of the first steps?
Well, that's a good question. We have a response plan. It's functional now, and we're continually working on it. And we had that tabletop exercise recently where we met with the relevant agency partners
Right.
and went through a few different scenarios of how it might get, how we might get that first notice that there's a positive deer, whether it's in captivity or in the wild or within that 25-mile.
And that tabletop plan, a lot of people don't know what you're talking about, but that was several different state and federal agencies got together, and you basically had scenarios, didn't you? There's like, what if this, and what if this, and I mean, all these agencies are working together.
Yeah.
So what did you get out of that?
Quickly,
Well,
we're about to run out of time.
Yeah, well, basically it kind of exposed the gaps as you walk through the scenarios, who's calling who, where do you keep that data, how would we know if that happened, just kind of expose some things where we need to just do a little bit more planning and have our ducks in a row so we can just have a coordinated response and be effective in our response.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it really is. It's gonna take everybody working together, and it's good to see that a lot of different people are concerned about this and that are taking it seriously. So, I mean,
Yep.
I guess see you November 17th. You come into Macon County. I'm gonna be at the check station there.
I'm not sure where my assignment is yet. I'm still waiting to hear, but I'll be out somewhere at a check station.
All right.
Well, y'all have fun out there this weekend. Kill you a big buck and come by and see us at one of these check stations or these processors and have your deer sampled if you can. If you let us do that, we'd love to get that sample. And we appreciate y'all tuning in and watching on Facebook, listening on the radio. Thanks to our radio partners out there. And Barry, thanks for co-hosting. James, thanks for being our
Thanks
expert
for having
today.
me.
And we'll be here next week right here on Tennessee Wildcast.
Sounds good.
See y'all next time.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.